Hey, how's it going? My name is Sam Cho, and I shall be your master of ceremonies today. Today we have a processing tutorial. And so today we're going to cover two things. We're going to cover Movie Maker in processing, which is basically allows you to export as an MOV file. And the other thing we'll look at is stop motion with looping. Alright, let's get right into this. Open up processing. Here's our file. This file comes from Doug. I shall provide a link in the description below. So let's take a look. Break it down a little bit. So first we have import. What this basically is nothing you really need to know about. It comes with it. What it normally is if you import a library of some kind. So here I'll put generative design, and it'll import. You'll put a little import generative design right there. But of course we're not using that, so we don't need that. In this case, the video plugin, or library, sorry, is a library that already comes with it. See, right there, video. Next thing we look at is Movie Maker MM. This calls the function known as Movie Maker. So this little guy is what calls from the library video to make the MOV file. Next, let's take a look. There's two values here, integers, that have been assigned, frame and number of frames, as I like to translate it. There's 0 and there's 6. I shall get back to that in a little bit later. This is P images. This basically just calls your images in. Alright, let's take a look at the setup. The setup, as you know, is something that is setting up. It's only done once. And it's set up at the beginning. Once you run the Java, it's done once and it's done. So you do it for stuff like the size of your little sketch, and we set the frame rate. Here it's 8. And also here it's telling the Movie Maker command or function to basically run. So this will say it will run Movie Maker with the width of the size and the height of the size of the sketch. And it will name it testmovie.mov QuickTime file. This is actually a separate frame rate for it. So as you can see, it's slightly different from the frame rate we have set up right here. And I'll show you what happens when we adjust these two different numbers differently. And this is the codec which the movie is exported as. So in this case, it's a QuickTime animation, but I could change it easily to H.264, which is the standard codec that comes out of DSLR camera. But let's just leave it to animation for now. And Movie Maker High. Not really sure what it is, but it seems to be the standard as I looked into it. Next we have here for call. So basically we have this integer setup called I, which is 0 at the moment. And so basically this is sort of an initial value for your image, which is relevant down here. So basically it's telling the sketch to initially set it at 0, and as long as it's less than a certain value, you shall keep it going +1. I ++ means keep adding a value of 1 to I. Now you'll see I down here again. So what this is calling the name of your files. So here we have the initial, like you could say anything here. You could say boat, you could say snow. In this case it's FY. I don't know why, but it's there. And plus meaning also. NF bracket I 3 bracket basically means that it's going to start with the value of, it's going to have the value of I, which is changing all the time. So in this case the initial value is 0, and here is 0, and then the 3 means that it's 3 digits, so it will look for only 3 numbers. And then we have to have the extension .jpeg. It could be a GIF, it could be a ping, it can be anything. Just change it to whatever you need to. Here we have basically a bunch of fancy stuff that's just saying we're calling the images. Okay? Number of frames. No, that's not as relevant here. Don't touch this stuff, please. Alright, so now this is the fancy part, the draw. This is where all the action is, alright? This is happening all the time as long as the code is running. So first, void draw has set it up so that the value of frame is always having a value of 1 added to it. So if the frame, which is let's remember back here is 0, is equal to the number of frames, which is num frames, which is equal to 6. It means it's run 6 times, okay? So 6 images or 6 frames. It will basically tell the Movie Maker to stop recording and create the MOV file. And then it resets it back to 0. Or no, sorry, if the frame is equal to 0, it will add a value of 1. So this little command right here, frame equal to 0, is what allows it to loop, essentially. And this command here, don't mess around with it also, is essentially this little command right here says take the pixels that are within your processing sketch. So then when I press play, the little window will open up and the little stop motion will play. So basically any pixels that are occurring there are going to be recorded and put into the MOV file. Okay? I hope so. Alright, so let's try playing this little guy, see what happens. Alright, pretty fancy. It's looping 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 frames right here are being played over and over in a loop. Okay, let me just demonstrate this for you. So let's just delete that. And we go. Watch. And see, it has created an MOV file. Let's just check out that MOV file, see what's up with it. Alright, it's played it. Seems a little bit fast, doesn't it? And the reason is because you control the frame rate of the video separately from the frame rate of the sketch. So let's take a look here. I'll set this down to 8. And I shall set this to something a little faster, like 20. And we shall play it. Oh look, it's playing so fast right now. What the heck? That's because we set it to 20. But if we play the MOV file... Oops, sorry. I have to recreate it. Sorry. Yeah, it's a good idea to delete your MOV file if you want to create a new movie on top of that. So right now it's playing it at 20 frames per second inside the sketch. And then outside the movie that was created, it's playing much slower. So you can control them independently. They don't have to be exactly the same, okay? Just a little note. Alright, we'll keep it 8 and 8 for no reason. Now, the little note here says that you changed these little little names and values here according to what you have. So, FY. But it fails to mention that if you want to add more than 6 images, you're going to have to do a little bit of work. So here, there's 12. I've added 6 more frames here. So this time, so it normally plays from 0 to 5. I've put them in reverse. And if I try adding them to data, you will notice it's still the same video. What the heck? So we have to change number of frames. So change it to 12 frames because that's what we have, and you shall notice a slight difference. So now it's going forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. There you go. So you basically have to change the number of frames here to how many pictures you have that are going to be loaded into your stop motion. Don't mess around with the frame number, please, unless... Yeah, just don't, actually. Please don't mess around with that. So let's recap slightly, alright? So number of frames, that's the number of images you have. Okay, that should be the number of images you're going to play through the thing. Frame should stay 0. It's important for the audio code. You set the size based on what the size of your images are. Frame rate controls how fast you want these images to play. This little number right here tells you what the MOV file frame rate will be. This will be the name of your MOV file. You don't really need to mess around with other stuff unless you want them to be slightly different. So you put a value here, or you put plus like 500 and it'll add 500 pixels to your width. Will be black, so I don't know what the point of that is. And then moviemaker.animation, so this is your codec. Probably not that important right now. Let's take a look here. Here we have FY, initial value. These are the changing number values of your JPEG, not necessarily JPEG, but your image files. So these are the little numbers here. And don't forget that 3 represents the number of digits, so it could easily be 2 digits, but It's 3 digits. And then .jpeg is your extension. So if these were like GIF files, I'd put GIF, but they're not. Next, what else? Alright, stuff we're not supposed to mess around with. And frame. This is all relating to the Movie Maker, and it allows you to loop. These little commands allow you to loop. So if you don't want it to create movies, you just have to remove anything that says MM on it. So, let's see what happens actually. I haven't tested this out, so it's all off the cuff, or whatever that term's called. Alright, let's see what happens. It's probably not going to work. Nope. It loops, but it's just not creating a MOV file. So if you don't want to make an MOV, it's not your cup of tea, just don't bother with it. And I think that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching this tutorial, and look forward to more. Please request on the YSTN 2014 Facebook page. If you're watching this in the future, there is no YSTN 2014 page. That sucks for you, man. You gotta request it on your own. Alright? Peace.